Hello, and welcome to another episode of Latina Life with Jenna Molina. Today, we welcome to the show Super Latina Mai Hernandez, who's making waves in the hair industry. Her talent captured the attention of big beauty brand Joico, who named her a Joico artistic educator and brand content creator. That team there knows the importance and the power of the Latina consumer. And I'm so happy that they partnered with her. May is also the co-founder of AM Salon, a Latina-owned beauty salon in West Hollywood. Let's get into it. May, thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. What an introduction. Excited to be here. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We are very excited to have you. So we want to dive right into this. And so one of the first things that we always like to ask is your background and where you're from, because, Latinas, we're all from different places and different, parts of the world. So you were born and raised in Venezuela. Tell us about coming here and really paving the way in the hair industry.
Wow. Yeah. I was born and raised in Venezuela, got to the States after my mom, or during the time my mom and dad were getting divorced. And Venezuela was starting to get shaky as far as the political grounds. And my mom just decided from literally 1 week to the next, we're packing and leaving. And it was really hard because we've never been to the States. We had gone on trips, but never really uprooted, right? So got here when I was a few months before I turned 15 and lived in Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then from Chicago, how did you end up? Was that when you first started doing hair? How did that happen for you?
So my mom used to take us to the beauty salon when we were little girls. And I always thought, I want to do that. I want to make women feel happy. So, but back home, that's not really seen as a career. Mm-hmm. So then when we got here to Chicago, I was like, maybe that's a possibility. So after graduating high school, I was working 3 jobs, one of them being in a salon. And it was the girl who used to do my hair in Villa Park, it was called, the city. And she was like, you don't need to go to hair school. I got you. I'll teach you everything. And that's when everything really started, but I wasn't licensed yet.
And so that started. And then how long would you say that your career really, you burst into your career? Because I'm sure many Latinas, Jen and I always talk about this, there's a lot of hardships. There's not open doors all the time.
Oh my God. Yeah, for sure. It was a struggle, definitely. I didn't even think at that time. I was young and not just living life and doing, as I pleased. And I never really thought about into the future. So having to go through different venues and different job opportunities and trying to make my way just to make a living. I deviated from doing hair. And also at that moment, we were still trying to get our situation as far as our paperwork, our visa, our permits, all of that straightened.
Oh, yeah.
And it was hard. It was hard, but at the end, it worked out. And about 7 years later, I came back to doing hair.
Okay. And so would you say that when you were really starting your career, what did you envision for yourself? Because we're going to talk about where you are now, but I'm sure that took a while to get to.
Absolutely. You know what, to be honest with you, I don't think I thought, like I said, I was just so living in the moment. I never thought into the future. I never said, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, this is where I see myself. And to be honest with you, I just heard this recently and I was like, Latinos usually suffer from, what did the guy say? I forgot, and I'm not trying to quote him, but it's like that syndrome when you are taking so you don't get left out. Does that make sense? So if I was offered a job, let's say blow dry, and somebody offered me $25, even though my price was $50, I will take it because I'm like, it's better to have 25 than nothing at all, right? So I was trying to make it. It paid off, but it was definitely a lot of sacrifices, during that trajectory.
I have to go back to, because obviously you had a couple of challenges, and I take it that maybe getting your license was one. You mentioned you didn't get, you weren't licensed. And
I
so
was not.
what was the biggest challenge in regards to getting that license, just in regards to other people who
Um,
might want to,
oh,
who are there?
I think the biggest was my age because I look young,
Mhm.
but I'm older than I look, way older than I look. And I think it was my age. I was closer to my 30s at that point, and I was going to beauty school when I moved now to California with my now husband. I was like, well, if I'm going to do anything, I'd rather do something that I'm passionate about. Let me start beauty school. Let me get licensed and go back to hair, do it the right way. And I was going to beauty school with 18, 17 years old, like
Oh,
people. And I was just like,
right.
whoa, now I need to catch up because I'm almost 10 years behind, 12 years behind. So I
Mhm.
think that was the biggest challenge for me.
Mhm, mhm. And that's something I think that is people should take away, especially Latinas, that no matter where you are in your stage in life, I feel everybody's on their own clock, right? And they
Yeah,
shouldn't feel
absolutely.
pressured. But did you feel that pressure, or what kind of kept you going straight? Because sometimes people get a little bit of imposter syndrome, right? Especially if they're
Yeah,
coming in and, people are younger and they have to
yeah.
compete with that. How did you stay calm throughout all of that?
Um, Definitely trying to reach my goal. Just like knowing a clear path, and I didn't know how I was gonna make it. I moved to LA on also a whim. Back then we were just dating, and I was just like, okay, from at the time I lived in Delaware, I was like like I don't want to sound horrible, but I wasn't happy in Delaware and the weather and whatnot. I was like, from boring Delaware to LA, I'm done. I'm like, I'm on my way. And I didn't even had a clear path at that point, but I was like, I'm gonna make it happen. And I lived in Santa Clarita. My beauty school was in Santa Monica. It would take me 2 hours each way driving back and forth. And it it was just like, I need to get to my end goal. I need to make this happen. I need to do something for myself that's gonna open more opportunities and more doors for me. So I feel like that feeling of don't give up was like what kept me going.
Mhm. And you talked about you had a mentor, right? So how important is having a mentor in the industry? And like, what did
Um,
you learn from them?
wow. I mean, yeah, I have, and I do have still different mentors for different things. Now that I'm a business owner,
Okay.
I do have someone that mentors me in that regards. I have a mentor for hair coloring and blonding because it's so much different. Like when you think about our hair versus other types of hair,
Mhm.
it's you approach it so differently. So I do have a mentor for that. I do have a mentor for more my personal and like mental state. So it's like it's different for different areas in my life. It's super important. It keeps me balanced in this crazy life. But yeah, definitely.
I think that's one of the things we've learned from talking to other people too that's been on the podcast, the importance of having mentors in different areas, right? Because
Hmm.
you have a need for the business side, the personal side, and there's so many different layers and textures. How does Joico come in? First of all, how did that happen? This partnership with Joico, what did you think when they reached out to you, when it finally started happening? But the importance of that partnership for you and for the industry and the Latina community.
Funny you say that. They didn't reach out to me.
Oh, oops. Sorry.
No, I feel like
But still lucky to
I
have
feel
you. Lucky to have you. Lucky it's a good
yeah,
partnership.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. But one of the things that I learned early on was making it myself. If I saw an opportunity, I will take it. And
Okay.
that's kind of like what happened with Joico. Uh, I reached out to people like higher ups in Joico, and I said, "Listen, I see an opportunity within the Latino community. I don't think you guys have enough representation as far as like education, and it's a huge market if you really think about it. Latin, I mean, it's Latino America, and even in Mexico and in
Mm-hmm,
Europe. I was
mm-hmm.
just like, it's one of the biggest market you guys are missing out. So I would love to participate and be a part of the brand. And a couple years after that conversation happened, I was teaching and doing more stuff with them. Luckily, Joico has been an amazing, amazing company that has always looked for diversion, I guess.
Yeah,
like for other
diversity,
culture.
and
Yes,
inclusion,
diversity.
right?
There you go. And
Yeah.
yes. So it wasn't like, it's not like in the last couple of years. No, they've actually have been thinking about it and working towards for over 12 years. At least that I know of, right? So it was an amazing opportunity to come on board with them. Yeah.
What I love though, which I think people need to take away from your story right now, is that you didn't wait for them to come to you. You said, I'm going to go look for them. And that's how you made it happen. And I think that a lot of us, unfortunately, we get scared and we're like, oh, how can we do that? How can we reach out? But it's like really putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what you did. And then
Absolutely.
they said, okay, so you did it. And I think that that's really important for people to like take away, because I feel like Latinas, most of all, like we get intimidated, or our parents said, don't ask questions, don't rock the boat, or don't, and you didn't. So good for you.
Thank you. A close friend of mine told me this and it stuck with me. A closed mouth doesn't get fed.
True.
And it dawned on me. And I was like, wait, how are they? I mean, we have social media, but it's so overly saturated. And we're talking about, I came on with Joico, like started working with Joico about 4 years ago. So it was already saturated at that point. So how are they going to notice me? How are they going to know I'm here? I already have a no as of now because I'm not working with them. So the worst they can say, it's my reality right now. So why don't I take that leap of faith and reach out? And I did, and it happened.
That's fantastic. And it's also, we need to note that it takes some time, right? Because it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
So not to lose look at us, like with our podcast too. I mean, when we came up with the idea, I'm like, we need to showcase, like, there's all these people, there's all these Latinas, we don't know their stories. And we talked about how we need to showcase them. And it was little by, I think Melina, it took us how many months to do like the first episode?
Yes, because we thought everything needed to be perfect, and that's just not the way it works.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. That's so important.
Yeah, because there's never going to be a perfect time. So I think we just had to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we literally are waiting for all the stars to align and the universe and the comets and, and it's just like, no, do it. That's the biggest, if anyone has to take anything, like any advice away from here, it's just like, do it. Yeah. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just go for it.
Now, but let's talk about hair, right? Because I've had a traumatic experience in high school. And granted, like you said, this was years before like people knew how to work with Latina hair. So I wanted to get, this was before the J-Lo with the caramel, like undertones and highlights and lowlights and the blending. Yeah. So I wanted to get highlights, and I came out, and with some people, for some people, not knocking anybody, this look may work, but when you have like really dark hair and then like just blonde white streaks, does not work for me. So that's what I had. Yeah. So I've always been afraid of getting, Melina's hair is amazing. She's got the thickness, the body, the colors and everything. But I'm always like, I'm too scared to do anything other than like the straight, like, my one color, and that's it. So for anyone, getting into changing up their look, if they're Latina, like what should they look at first? I mean, because should they look at skin tone? I'm always worried about the eyebrows. Are the eyebrows too dark? Like, how do you decide what's the best color for you?
I would say, there is a background of when you want to compliment and bring out the best in you, but I feel like whatever color you are attracted to, it's gonna make you feel confident no matter what. Does that make sense? Because a lot of the times people are too worried about are golden tones fine on me, or cooler tones fine on me. Listen, my skin tone, I'm olive skin, and according to that, cooler tones will look better on me. But I've always been like super attracted and gravitated towards warmer tones, which make me look more tan and more like alive, and I like it.
Mhm.
And I think actually I pull them off better. So I think whatever colors you gravitate towards, you're gonna feel more confident with that. Now, what I will try to stay away from are or like um what's this word I'm looking for?
Is
When
it
you
like,
don't want like no, when it's when you get your hair lightened and it turns hot Cheeto.
oh, that red, right?
That
That red
orange,
thing.
red,
Yes.
bright, that, yeah. And
Mhm.
then you try to go like, no, it's just not happening. If they don't put the right toner, if you have to bring the color down and you have to counteract so much that at the end of the day, the toner comes out and you literally look like a pumpkin.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think like now I think I've made a name for myself to be a specialist, a color correction specialist because of that. Every time I will see a Latina, I'll be like, oh my gosh, can I do your hair? I love your hair. Da, da, da. I think I can do, like, I can make you feel so beautiful. And it was like all of those oranges, trying to like
Mhm, mhm.
manipulate the color and counteract that. But I would say if you haven't done, like a person like you, if you haven't done any color, I would say start baby steps. Don't try to go for the blondest
Right,
blonde,
right.
just like a little dimension will be beautiful. And because you haven't had color in so long, you still are going to get that wow factor.
Right, right. Oh, thank you. See, that's what I need to do. I need to do that. That's my next step to do. I'm going to
Baby
do
Yes.
steps, Jen, baby
Baby
steps.
steps. Yeah.
Yeah, baby
I
steps.
will say darker hair on, like, as we grow older, make our features look stronger, like more,
Mhm.
So I will
Mhm.
say putting a little bit of dimension, just like the smallest touch in your hair, will give you like just a youthful look. So always keep that in mind as
Oh,
well.
Oh, I like that.
that's a great
I need
tip.
a youthful look all the time. All the
Everybody
time.
wants a youthful look all the
Yes.
time. And so what
No, I have to.
is, oh, go ahead. No, I just wanted
No,
to
go ahead. Go
see
ahead, honey.
like when you got your salon, how did that happen? Because I mean, not everybody can do that. You know what I mean? So like, how
Yes.
did that act? Like, how did that even come into your mind?
I will say for that, it was 100,000% the universe. It was manifesting it. It was believing, and the stars truly aligning for me. At that point, it was like right after the pandemic. I opened my salon suite, and I'm sure you guys have heard of this concept. It's where it's like a big establishment and a lot of salons, little salons,
Okay,
and
yeah.
it can be, it could be nails, skin, hair. I had my little suite there, and the person who I was taking the suite over from moved to a bigger suite, and it happened to be Amber Maynard, and I had met her at a Joico event a few years prior, and we reconnected, and we're like, wait a second, what are we doing? What is this? It's time for us to expand. It's time for us to, just do it right. And came to find out she's also half Latina, and our vision just aligned. I mean, just like seeing where we came from and what we wanted to change in the industry, we realized if we wanted to see anything different than our story, we had to be it. We had to make it happen.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah, that's when AM came about.
Oh my
And
God, that's
again, it
amazing.
wasn't a whim. It was literally within 2-3 months. I mean, if not less. We just
Wow.
drove around, we picked a place where, like, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And it was meant to be, it happened. I mean, it was literally, we were running against the clock at that point. It happened so fast, so fast.
I mean, and that's amazing because that's obviously, the business side of the brain dealing with like putting together, a
Yeah.
business, like a brick and mortar and all the finance and the budget and everything. So
Yeah.
was there any particular like important takeaways from that for someone who might be wanting to start a business like this that you can share?
I mean, yes. If you can marry someone that's business minded, I'm blessed enough to say my husband took care of that side, and he helped us so much. Apply for permits, which I didn't know was a thing. I mean, literally for anything except painting a wall, you need a permit for. Um, So apply for permits, insurance, and all that, like really looked into all of that stuff to have it align. Budgeting, we are we self-funded.
Mhm.
And I do think that's important because I do believe that cash is king. I don't want to get into debt. I don't want to own anybody. I don't want investors. I wanted to do it by myself and by ourselves. And we did it. We take pride in that, and not going over budget, and just knowing what you need and what you want are two different things.
Got it. Yeah.
And making everything just workable, just like being flexible, like your time frame. We thought the first contractor came and he said a few days, and I'll have it done, and then he walked away, and we were like, oh, okay, now what? So we had to find another, just like going with the flow and try not to stress about it. It's part of the process, basically.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. What is self-funded? I'm sorry. I mean, for people out there that don't know what self-funded is, does that mean like, do you just
we put the money, came out of pocket, baby.
Okay.
It came out of pocket. We didn't go to I didn't get any like $50,000 loan, $100,000. I don't owe my salon, it's mine. What you see is what you get. And I wanted it like that. Could we have gone and say, let me get a business loan for $100K and put it together with our budget, and we could have had a 200,000 salon? Yes, absolutely. But then now it's kind of like getting married. It's two worlds colliding, and we wanted to mitigate the clashes and the stress. And also we wanted to make sure that rent, bills, electricity, all of that stuff, we could cover, even if no one came into the salon. So that's really important, because if I would have asked for a loan, now I'm owing this much monthly plus my rent. You combine that and you're in red numbers.
Yeah. No, this is so important. No, thank you so much. Even those little nuggets are truly, truly important. So just wanted to go back a little bit in regards to you being an artistic educator and brand content creator for Joico, because I'm sure this is sort of another industry, right? It's part of the industry, but it's like a different layer to the industry, right?
Yeah.
So what does that entail exactly? And for anyone who is interested in doing that, like what do you need to do to do those two roles?
Maybe let's switch the question to what should you do to be noticed by brands? For anyone listening that wants to be noticed, that wants to know, how do I start creating content? That's literally what it is. That's how I started. I started creating content. Listen, a lot of the sacrifices comes in a free form. I started creating content and I wasn't getting paid. But I knew if I kept pushing and if I kept, myself disciplined and consistent, someone within that brand will see, oh, look at this person, also your attitude. I'm naturally just happy. I think also because my birthday is a happy birthday, 420. So I'm always like, yeah, I'm always
it's coming up. It's coming up.
It
is coming.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm always happy. And so I feel like that I could transmit that through the camera. And that was another, they're, oh, who's that girl? She's always smiling. She's always showing teeth, being polite to people, treating people with respect. I treat, honestly, the assistants the same way I treat the president or the VP of the company. I have the same endearment for both. Titles are only titles, and respect goes a long way.
Absolutely.
So I think those are really 3 great tips.
That is actually very true, because you never know who's going to end up anywhere. So that's so true, because I feel like people get so caught up on the titles, and you just never know where you're going to land, because life is so tricky that way.
You never know here. I mean, and especially, I don't know if it's LA and the culture in LA. It's all about who you know. And it's such a small world. It's so big, even within the industry, it's so big, but so small. and treat people with respect. Everybody knows each other somewhere, somehow, or are connected with each other. So yeah.
What do you have planned next? I mean, I know you just got back from actually Vegas. You said you had an
Yes.
event there. So what was that event? And then how does that like fold into like, the rest of your goals for the rest of 2023?
So with Joico, I do events. They tell me, we have a schedule and I have more shows coming up. Now I think they are using me also a lot in the English aspect of it. So I have shows coming up in English, shows coming up in Spanish, classes in both. It's very exciting, very promising future with them. I also have, we're putting together our team at the salon. We're taking our time because we believe that we also want to represent and have representation and be inclusive. So, and we also believe that one bad apple can ruin the entire box. We are, so we're taking our time. So that's also happening. I do believe that taking time off and just grounding yourself, it's also important. So in the middle of that, I'll probably have 2 or 3 vacations as well before the year ends, and just living life and enjoying it, enjoying the ride. Again, if you were to ask me, where do you see yourself in a year? Living life. That would be my answer. I don't plan.
Yeah. Sometimes I find it so hard, Melanie and I we're always like, sometimes it's hard to enjoy in the moment because you're like, okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. And it's so important to have that self-care and take time to have vacations. I think also just growing up, and I don't know if it was your mom or not that helped you, but like I grew up with parents, like they never vacationed. They always worked, right? They just always worked. That's what we always did. And when we did vacation, we went to go see family. That was the vacation. Yeah. Like there was never, we're going to It wasn't until I met my husband, then all of a sudden, we started doing like different things. But why is that important too, in regards to kind of, educating people too, and then also expanding, your brand and making other people like realize, what the industry has to offer?
Well, I do believe that when you are teaching, traveling, doing shows and classes and all that stuff, it does take a lot of energy. And I'm I do tend to gravitate towards that a lot. I do believe in energy. I believe, everything, it's energy pretty much. And so when you get that like sucked out of you in so many different ways, right? Especially now that I'm also a wife, I have I work with Joico, I have my salon, I have, so many different things going. It's just like, I feel drained at the end of the day. And sometimes literally yesterday, I looked at my husband and we're like, we need 30 hours in a day, like 24, it's not enough. But then at the same time, we are trying to change this. We are trying to break the cycle.
Yeah.
We don't want to live like that. I also heard in a different podcast, someone said, you have to let the universe surprise you. If you have everything planned so far in advance, it's so structured that you are literally not, the universe can be like, surprise, I have this amazing opportunity for you, and then when that comes, you have to let it slide by because you don't have the time for it. So it's really hard too, because developing my clientele, that was like one of the things, like a day, if I don't work, I don't get paid, especially now that I own this salon. It's like nobody's above me, and it's just like, if I don't get clients, then I don't eat, basically. But also knowing that it's gonna work itself out gives me peace, if that makes sense. So at this moment, I think like that's like where I'm at in my life, is just enjoying the ride, because it will work itself out. You just have to believe in that.
That's so important for all of us, completely. Oh my gosh, we're so happy that you sat down with us. I feel like we touched on so many different things, hair and the rest of life, right?
Good tips.
Hair is life.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time and everything. And I know that there's going to be a lot of takeaways from all this. And I cannot wait to, see all of the other and more success that you're going to have in the future.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. We're definitely going to have to come into your salon for sure and like catch up.
I was just going to say, I was like, you guys are more than welcome. Jen,
Oh,
especially you since
perfect.
you
Making
want
my
to do my
appointment.
color.
What's up?
Really nice to meet you. Yes, please come in. For all the people that are listening,
Thank
they can
you.
also follow my story at May Hair. That's my IG handle. And if you guys have any questions or want to know a lot more, they just can reach out to me. I'm always available.
Perfect. I know all of our listeners are going to love that. You're going to be flooded with phone calls.
Amazing. Thank you
So,
so much.
so thank you, May. Thank you,
Yeah.
Everybody who is listening, mis Latinas, nuestras Latinas. Hasta la próxima. Take care of your hair. Go see May. Enjoy
you,
life.
guys.
Be flexible, so you guys are open to different opportunities because you never know where the road is going to take you. And then just remember to, come back here and to listen to these fabulous stories on Latina life with Jenna Molina, like everywhere, podcasts are heard. And love you all. Besos. Until the next time.
Bye.
Bye.